I love it. I love your heart, man. I saw your stuff and I'm like, gotta reach out to Joe, man.
Let's do it. I'm so glad we did. Well, let's begin our journey into your good work. You're doing wonderful things, and I want to know this. 5 years ago, this pandemic was changing our lives and the landscape of our existence. How did you get through that, and how has it changed your approach to life in 2025?
Goodness. Do you know what is funny? It changed everything about my life
Yeah.
because I was pastoring at Beach Church in Jacksonville, Florida at the time. Church world during the pandemic uh, was a mucky mire, dude. Like you couldn't please either side.
Yep.
Obviously, we gather large crowds every week, so it was very interesting.
Yeah.
But what was wonderful about it is I asked my now wife out on our first date the Sunday that the world began to shut down. So
Wow.
March 14th, I believe, was that year. March 14th or 15th. This Sunday moves around, but it was literally that like we walked into what's one of our favorite restaurants now, and we were the last persons to be
Wow.
seated, and she's like, "Order your food quick, the kitchen is shutting down."
Wow.
I shit you not. And so, um, as a pastor, and I've been a single man for almost a decade, there can be a lot of public pressure. And so, what the blessing of the pandemic was is I got to date and court my future bride without a lot of people, without all the chatter and, oh, who's Pastor Josh dating and all this junk. So, I think, God was gracious. And so really we got engaged a year later. We built a family where we just had our second child. She's Jubilee, uh, has joined the crew. And so it's changed everything because one, I'll be honest with you, man, it's not been easy for me personally because I'm a massive extrovert.
Yeah.
I've pastored and ministered in mostly larger contexts, mega churches and all this stuff. And I love it. I know the mega church model has plenty of risk factors and liabilities, but it's also very beautiful
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. Just a depth and breadth of people and gifts and graces just swirling around, in an organization. And I love it because, again, I'm a driven leader, high capacity, big people capacity, and then COVID,
Yeah.
working from home, Zoom for days, Zoom fatigue, and I miss people, man. And if I'm isolated for too long, I stagnate, man. And so it's actually been a mental health drag. And
Yes.
so I've had to learn to be one, continue to grow in my self-awareness of what is input and what is output put, and that looks a lot different when working from home and from being at home and married at home and father at home. And so, really trying to find ways to get out of the home is vital, vital, vital. And I think what I've seen is I think people have forgotten how to be in relationship. I think pandemic really leveled a lot of the sense of community
Yeah.
in a lot of places, especially among white folk.
Mhm.
White people are highly independent, highly more transactional than, say, the black community, the Latino community,
Yep.
the Native American community, where it's so family centric, so community centric, so relational.
Yep.
And so, um, like I said, man, it's been a journey. I'm not always winning, but I'm grateful that the Lord brought me my beautiful bride, and we're building a family. So for that, I cannot, uh, I'll never not look on the pandemic with a bit of nostalgia.
And what a Cinderella story to have that time to court because everything did slow down. And I would imagine being a pastor, you're getting dinged all the time. Anytime you're single, anytime you're not into this matrimony and all of that. But you know what's interesting about that time was I think that March 13th was a Friday the 13th. And I think Saturday was the 14th,
Yeah.
right? So of
Yeah.
all times that the world's going to come to a close, you know, being in Kansas City, my dad passed in '08, and we used to watch the Chiefs all the time, and there was always that field goal that would go before St. Mahomes came in on his shiny horse. We were in misery, and I remember he used to always tell me, because he used to call them the Kansas City Griefs. He's like, if these and he'd always say it this way: if these bums finally win the Super Bowl, the whole world's going to come to a close. And he was right. After that parade, it came to a close. So it's wild, man. But
Hey, I'm a Jaguar, brother. So
yeah,
we're doing all right for the first time in a while. I love our new coach. He's excellent.
yeah,
He's actually a leader. He's really leading the guys. And so maybe we can get we can stop being the cardiac cats like
that's it.
y'all are the Kansas Griefs. I love that.
Yeah. No, and I love it when towns that haven't tasted the champagne get that moment because that's it.
Uh,
Because that's really what it is. It's about the town coming together, no political lines, no weirdness, no
yeah.
one's on one side or the other. We're just all in this city and we're feeling it. It's a great feeling, man.
I, and what I appreciate about this guy, this leader, and by the way, leadership is a real passion of mine. He is leading, and he's a civic leader. He keeps calling like we need the city involved. We need just what you're describing,
Yeah,
and so it's just cool to finally have. I've always said like we've had the talent, we've had the this, we've had the that, and I just felt like we've always lacked leadership. And I think obviously Kansas City, just the man with the mustache has just been a central figure, a staple in
yep,
that franchise. And I think I'm hopeful that we've got great leadership in place for maybe the first time.
that's it. It all comes together. So let me ask you this. There's so many titles that you have. If I put you in front of a bunch of 12-year-olds at a school, it's career day, and one of the kids wanted to know what you do for a living, how do you explain it?
That's a complex question that I don't
Yes.
have a simple answer to. I would say I help people know God and be the people and be who He's made them to be. I think that's really, I want to see one, I mean, I'm a pastor. I had a pretty radical experience where God literally woke me up out of bed one day. I was living a life of sin. And God just rescued me. I had a very broken past, broken upbringing, and God really just He did. He rescued me, man. By the grace of God, go I. So, but I know what it means to suffer,
Yeah.
to feel like an outcast, to really struggle in life.
Yeah.
Um, and there's a scripture. Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, you're good. No
There's
worries.
a scripture I came across early on where Jesus said, "The enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but I have come that they may have life abundantly." And I'm like, I don't even know what that means, but I don't got it and I want it. And I'm like, so there's this idea that I want to see people thrive in life, man. I hate seeing people struggle. I hate seeing people stuck in the quagmire of dysfunction, staying stuck. I help people thrive, man. I build. I'm a builder. I don't know. I know this is like very subjective. I live in the world of unlocking human potential,
Yeah.
and I want to build people who are thriving in their in what and here's the thing, I believe, I'm a man of faith, so that informs my worldview. I believe God created us all on purpose for a purpose. And when we step into that, man, we come alive.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can do that apart from Jesus. I don't know where you stand with your faith or where your listeners do, and I'm not here to preach at you. This is just what gets me out of bed, man.
Yeah.
You
Sure.
know, as I want to see people thrive. I want to see people live in their God-given calling and thrive in their destiny. And I hate seeing people stay stuck in struggle, man, because I've been there and I know how bad it's stuck. So that's a long answer. I mean, I'm doing all the sales and marketing stuff, and like you got to get your copyright and you've got to get your messaging right, man. And it's difficult because um, I do a lot of these things. I'm a pastor, I'm a leadership consultant, I'm a coach, I'm a marketer. Man, I just want to help people live the abundant life that Jesus died for them to give. And I think sometimes we spiritualize that a lot.
Yeah.
Like that lives in a church service on Sunday, but truly it informs every area of our life. I say it like this, the gospel changes everything, man. And so from um, how we lead our family to how we show up at work to how we do sales and marketing, dude. A lot of people um, wear masks. A lot of people lack skills they need. A lot of people market a certain way just to get to get a result in a way that's not integrous or not authentic. And honestly, man, none of that shit works.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, man, I know. Again, that's a long answer,
No,
but
I
that's
love
what
it.
gets me out of bed, as I want to see people win.
Yeah, and I love it. You opened the door to a lot of things. I remember interviewing a spiritual medium some months ago, and we were just talking about how I'm fascinated. Maybe it's coming from the show me state and that level of empiricism. I'm fascinated with when people are they flatline and they go to the other side and they see the light. And
Mm,
I always ask them what it feels like, and they're like, "Wow, it's like unreal." Like when you feel that comfort of the light and everything that happens. And
yeah,
then I took it a step further with her, and I was asking her just about being inhuman and the way that this is a gift, and some people lose track of that. She
yeah.
was like, there's so many people that are waiting to get a soul because we incubate these souls within us, within
Mm,
these costumes, and how we're all, every single human being on this planet has this body that we're put in, and this
mm,
soul that's lived for however long before and however long afterwards, forever, hopefully. But it's like, it's amazing to think about this gift that all of us have been put into this world in our very
yeah,
unique circumstances. It's wild to think, you
yeah.
know.
Well, and this is so you bring up a wonderful point of it's a wonderful gift. And it is. And I believe that life is a gift, life is a miracle. That's why, the scripture says, in everything give thanks, right? It's like literally like it says, this is the will of God. Folks talk about the will of God and what's my purpose. There's a few things where it just spells it out, and one of them it's literally says, "In everything give thanks," or in every circumstance give thanks.
Yeah,
Maybe not for every circumstance, but in every. So, and why? Because if you're not giving thanks, then what's the opposite? You're ungrateful.
yeah,
The problem is, Joe, sometimes life sucks. And sometimes suffering is real and loss. I literally just got a text this morning. One, a dear friend of mine's wife, a dear friend. He was a mentor of mine in early seasons. His wife's got stage 4 cancer.
yeah,
Wonderful, godly, generous, good business people. Mother of 4 has invested in countless hundreds of people, thousands even. They've impacted, and she's got stage 4 cancer. It's
yeah,
like it is a gift.
yeah,
But suffering is real. And so that can take you out. Like you say, I believe your words were, but we can lose sight of that. And I've been in the suck, dude. I've been in the suffering where life wasn't a gift. It was hell. It was miserable. I hated my life. And I was filled with shame and low self-worth and didn't think my life mattered. And I know a lot of people live there, man. And so, but the Lord has like, and me, like, yes, God rescued me, but I've also done a lot of work to climb out of that pit.
Yeah.
And the pit is a slippery slope. You can slide back into the pit. And you seem to be an incredibly positive, energetic, enthusiastic individual. And that's beautiful, man. I don't wake up like that in the morning, dude.
Yeah.
I wake up negative. Like I have to like put on,
Yeah.
you know, Christ. I have to renew my mind. I have to go to the gym, sit in the sauna, pray, I mean, I got to do it all, man, just to prime the dang pump
Yeah.
so I could be the version of me that serves, the world.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, man, they're not, life is not a gift, it's a curse.
Yeah.
Experience us subjectively. For
Yeah.
them, it's not a gift. And so what I'm so passionate about, whether I'm my work in ministry, my work as a coach, my work even marketing, because if you're like trying to build a business and you're not getting things coming in, man, that's frustration. That's discouragement. And so um, even what you just said then resonates is like, you want to see people win in life so
Yeah.
that life is the gift that it true like let me say it like this so they experience life as the gift that it truly is that we both know it to be. And so like I said, man, I want to see people win. I want to see people thrive, whether on this individual level or the organizational level, because life ain't always easy, man.
Yeah. For sure.
The great theological statement remains to be true. Shit happens.
Yep. Totally does. It's the bumper sticker of all time, man.
You know,
So, what did you want to be at 12 years old? What was your dream gig? What did you want to be when you grew up?
not fat.
Okay.
I was overweight
Okay.
because life growing up was really difficult. And so one of the first ways I found to cope was food and video games.
Yeah.
So I was pretty chunky as a young lad. And I remember I remember crying out to God. I think even that early, I was like, I don't want to be this way anymore. And so um, I got into the gym. My folks were working out with Sergey Balabayev, an ex-Russian Olympian bodybuilder, and then I found surfing, and so physical fitness um, has played a huge part in my life still to this day. I'm not always I'm not like model material. Love weight is a real thing. I probably gained 40 pounds after I got married and had a
Yeah.
kid because love weight's real. But I'm down 30, so death to the dad bod. So I wanted to be not fat, like
Yeah.
really literally at 12.
Yeah.
Vocationally, no clue, man. Right back then, I was still kind of I was trying to not be miserable,
Yeah.
you know? I would say this also. I think belonging and friendship was a deep desire of mine. Growing up with a speech impediment, see, I still have got it.
Sure.
Nowhere near as bad as it was. Um, and being overweight, broken home type deal, like really belonging, friendship was a deep. I wanted that when I grew up. I knew that. So,
Yeah, my son's on the spectrum, so I'm decoding a lot of things that he's saying and approximating. So I'm working with language with him all the time. I totally get it. And it's amazing. I've interviewed some musicians, or some people that are speakers, and they're authors, and they do other things, but they're also musicians. And when they sing, they don't have any problem with their speech at all.
yeah, it's
It just,
fascinating.
yeah, it's like another testament to the power and the beauty of music.
Yeah, it's. So I went through a speech. I've been through all sorts of stuff, but I went through a program in Virginia. It's interesting. The speech centers of the brain. There's 16 different things you can do. So if I slow my voice down, look, the stutter goes away.
Yeah,
If I whisper, the stutter goes away. If I sing, the stutter goes away. There's all these things you can do
yeah,
because it's accessing different parts of the brain.
yeah,
So it's fascinating, man. Speech is, I believe one of the things that sets us apart from the animal kingdom, right?
yeah,
Because we're able to communicate ideas. And so speech is, it's a beautiful gift. It's a struggle when, there's some type of hindrance there. And so I've done work with special needs, and I think the grace that they bring into our lives is pretty special
oh
because you
yeah,
see purity in a different way, even though
yep,
different, maybe, um, what would you say, different capabilities may be hindered, but the heart still shines through
oh
so
my,
pure. So,
it's amazing. It's really,
yeah,
and they get to filter out all of the muck that we have to deal with our
yeah,
neurotypical
they're
brains.
broken in different ways, but I think their heart remains more pure than many of us.
And that's beautiful. So I want to set this question up this way. When I was in high school, I never really grew up in the church, and I became a born again Christian. And I remember the way that I got to that point. I clearly remember I was at a skating rink, and someone explained how hard and long and horrible hell would be, and it totally freaked me out. Which I don't really think that's the way that anybody needs to be led to any spiritual gate. But they did that, and it freaked me out. And I was in the eighth grade, and I remember I really went through it, and I just got to that point where I was born again, and I was really in that culture. But I remember coming to that point, and I remember the one guy, and I've tried to find if he's still around, and I can't find him. His name was Ty Sarver, and he gave me this Bible that I still have, and he signed it, and I still hold on to it. It has this magical, mythical thing connection to me. And I'm wondering with you, if there was a human, if there was a person, if there was someone that took that minute out in your life that led you to that spiritual place that's been the bedrock of where you're at today.
Um, that's beautiful for a tie. No, no one really led me to the Lord. I can't say that. I mean, God literally woke me up out of bed one day. So I was like, again, literally, when I was in college, I was a drinking and drugging, sex, drugs, and house music. I was a DJ, a jiu-jitsu fighter, and a bouncer in downtown Orlando. So extrapolate what that lifestyle was
Yeah.
like. I had grown up in the church. I went to Catholic school.
Okay.
I had a knowledge of God, but I didn't have a relationship with God. I didn't have a true faith, right? But I think I had faith that there was God, that there was a God, but I didn't have um, I had not heard the good news of Jesus in a way that I, would receive, and I wouldn't say that I was saved or whatever language you want to put on it, but I think seeds of faith had definitely been planted. My grandmother was a devout woman. My mother got filled with a Holy Ghost at a women's retreat when I was like 12 or 13. I remember making fun of her, calling her a Jesus freak. My uncle was a priest and got out of the priesthood and is now a bishop. So I had some spiritual heritage, I would say, that was definitely a grounding force in my life, even though I ran away from that and was living wild. But when God woke me up and said, literally, and I quote, "Wake up, you're going to church." That day I went to a beautiful church called Summit, Orlando. And there was a very vibrant and just strong preacher of the word. His name was Pastor Isaac. And the way he was able to open the scriptures in a way that it like made sense to your modern day. He would keep it in context, but show you how that still applied, and then what God could do through you.
Yeah.
It just lit me up like a Christmas tree, man. You know, that idea that God is able to move and do things through his people. And I just realized that God was there was a moment, I think it was like 2 or 3 months in, I was like, oh crud, this is Jesus is real. I can no longer live as I live, and I gave my life to Christ. And so even though that man had a bad end in his ministry, I think the worst you could have, God used him in a mighty way in my life and many others. And so I'll always be thankful for Pastor Isaac and
Yeah.
um, how God used him.
I'm always envious and in a land of wonder of those that grew up and would go to church on their own, separate from their families. They just
Mm,
felt the allure because it was always this institution. There was always these things that would kind of cloud this building. But the
sure.
one time that it felt right, I was on my own in my 20s and I was in Rome and I went to St. Peter's Square at night.
Wow.
And I looked around all the statues above and saw where the Pope was. And there was just this serenity. There was this truth. There was this
Yeah.
spiritual echo of everything that led
Yeah.
me to feel the comfort of that. And I think we all find that in our various ways. Like you say, you got to wake up and get to that place. You can't,
He draws us in various ways, you know, he really does. And I think that's the challenge of institutional faith is like faith is there's nothing institutional about
right.
faith. Yeah, faith is believing in, you know, that which we can't see, and yet
Yeah.
there are the, you know, the so there, yeah, that's a long conversation,
Dude, totally is. But I
I
love the way
think.
I love the way that you framed the freedom of faith because that's what it is. It's this freedom. It gives you this free reign. Um, so I'm curious if you had a dream tonight and you ran into that version of you as a kid playing video games, a little overweight, in the middle of it, and you walk in and you have a book, your age right now, where you're at, and you give this version of you a coffee table book and you look at him and he's confused and you're like, this is how your life turned out. Would that version of you believe it?
No, probably not. Probably not. I used to carry so much pain and sadness. I was a joyful kid. I was a enthusiastic kid. I think God just wired me that way. But and that's, you know, God, it's been a long journey, man. It really has. There's been loss along the way. Would he believe it? That's a beautiful question, man. You're an amazing interviewer,
Thank
Joe.
you. Thank you.
Um, damn, I'm gonna get emotional, man.
Yeah.
That kid was a very sad, hurt, unhappy, wounded boy. He really was, man. I still carry some of that, but the scars don't hurt like they used to. No, I don't think he would
Yeah.
believe it, man. I don't think he would. He never would have thought he'd have spoken in front of thousands of people, that he'd be helping others who, you know, were struggling in the way as he, yeah, God is good, man. God, I'm gonna get me fired up on a Wednesday afternoon, man.
That
Holy crap.
that's it.
Let's
So
go, somebody.
I love it. So let me ask you this. The one thing I like to ask is if you could get into a time machine and go back in time and see one event in human history. I've had people talk about just seeing Jesus in like a regular way.
Yeah,
If you had that opportunity to transport and to just witness the man, do you think our brains would be able to conceptualize something that big?
man. He is funny to me how frustrated Jesus would get with his disciples because they just didn't get it. He was always like, "Don't you get?" Like he literally says, "Like, oh my God, I'm not talking about bread." You know, like And like I'm the bread of life. He's like, did somebody bring him? Or I've got food that you know nothing about, the will of my Father. And he's like, did somebody bring him some bread? He's like, oh my God, guys, like, how long will I be with you, you wicked generation? The frustration that he must have felt at points because of how good I just, man, I love Jesus. I don't think we can comprehend it. I think that's why we've been trying to figure it out for two millennia,
Yeah,
and we still can't get past this person of Jesus. There is no greater paradigm. There's no greater archetype, and he's not just an archetype. He's a person. You know
yeah,
what I mean? But what he there, what does the scripture say? Um, how unfathomable
yeah.
is the knowledge of God. And so um, I think that's one of the most, I'll often pray, Lord, help us run the race until we see you face to face. It rhymes and that's nice, but that's really kind of what we're doing because like in his presence is fullness of joy.
Yeah.
Like everything is right. He is putting in his life, he put everything right. And I think it's very easy to see the world we live in. Things are not right here. Things are very wrong and
Yeah.
very broken. And um, just that one day, our faith says we'll be with him, and there will be no more tears. And I don't know about you, but I've lost people that I dearly care for, and there will be no death, no more death. Like everything will be right, and that's because of him. And just to be with the man that deserves all worship, all glory, every good thing we can do with our life, and then he still takes us with all the bad.
Yep.
That would be a beautiful thing to be in his presence. And I believe by God's grace we get to pray and be in his presence, but to actually be in his presence would be a beautiful thing.
That would be a trip. Yeah.
You are a wonderful man, Joe.
Thank you.
You are a
Thank you.
wonderful man. I'd love to hear your story sometime because you don't get to be where you are without a journey. That much I know.
I will tell you one thing, one of the most astounding spiritual things that I went through in my life. I lost my best friend very young in life. He was 17, I was 16. And he
Mm.
had he had liver issues and he used to put an IV in when we would play as kids. And it was all regular. But when it
Yeah.
happened, it jolted me and I got to that point. Well, I used to see him in my dreams. And I remember there was a period in my 20s where I was just like, wait, hold on, you're not here anymore. And we would be in his childhood home and we would go through this. So for somewhere in my subconscious, this thing grew up into my conscious brain. It was like, I'm going to ask him one question. And I said, Matt, what does God feel like? And all of a sudden, I was over a lake. Two ropes went in the sky. There was just this old rope thing. And I went over the top of a serene lake, and my big toe barely touched the top of the water, and I was out. And I've never seen him since. So I cashed in all of my spiritual chips to ask him what God felt like, and it was totally worth it. And it's cool. And those little moments
Mhm.
make things right. It makes living on this planet it's like when you talk to someone that got really close to that other side and they talk about the comfort. I think there's a lot of doom, like people, like when I did come to Christianity, like there was this whole like hellfire brimstone, and I
Mhm.
don't think that's the way that we need to get
No.
ourselves to feel that. But anyway, that's a part of it. And I have one final question for you before our time runs out here. The man behind the mission, everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, everyone in your church, everyone that knows you that you influence, but you run the show. What's
Mm.
your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I have a terrible view of myself. Self, Joe. For whatever I really struggle with self-worth,
Yeah.
with that self-doubt. Um, People see me and I'm just so aware of my faults. I'm so aware of you know, the areas I have to. I think because of the way I grew up, I had very critical um, figures and voices
Yeah.
from an early age. I wasn't, molested as a kid. I stuttered. I really grew up with like a lot of negativity, and so I can dwell in the negative. I'm so grateful for a loving wife and dear friends who help me see myself in a much more positive light. And I think because I know how darkness can kind of what would be the word? It can kind of get on you, man, and it can
Yep.
kind of stain you or color your soul or your vision. Um, it's so vital to That's why Jesus came back to. I don't want to like over spiritualize, but like that's one of my faith. I need my faith. There's no more beautiful words than the words of Jesus, than the words of Scripture. And so friends who speak those words of life over me, a wife who speaks words of life. And so I try to see myself the way God sees me, not the way I see me, because that can just be a little negative sometimes. So
Yeah.
I'm still trying to see myself the way God does.
We're kindred spirits, brother. I feel all of that. Absolutely feel it. And
Yeah,
before we get out, because I know we did really good running away with time here. If anyone wants to reach out, they want to get involved with all the good work that you're doing in your life and what you're doing for people, where do they go?
yeah, risingleadership.org. That's all of my work, or you can follow me on social media at Joshua Delp on Instagram.
Right on. I will put all these links in the show notes. What a gift, man. So great that we arced into our existences. Thank you, sir. Thank you for what you're doing. I
You're a
appreciate it.
gift, Joe, and may God bless you, brother, and your sweet son. All right.
Yeah, same to you and your family. We're lucky to have you here, man. Thank you,
All
sir.
right, bro. All right,
Take
bro.
care.
Much love.